Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, a.k.a. PD Beats.
Hello, welcome to the Popternative podcast. This is the podcast where we had digital discussions through the worlds of pop culture, social media, sports, and of course hockey. This is one of our exclusive NHL Draft one-on-one interviews on the podcast, and we are speaking to players that will have the chance to get their name called at the 2018 NHL Entry Draft in Dallas, Texas. My guest is a centerman. He plays in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League for the Blainville Boisbriand Armada, Luke Henman. Luke, welcome to Popternative.
All right, thanks for having me. How's it going?
It's going well, man. Crazy couple of weeks. NHL Combine, right off the bat. How was that? Must have been just a crazy experience.
Yeah, it was a really cool experience. In Buffalo for a week. Pretty cool to go to sort of a new city that I've never been to, but really cool experience. I met a lot of new people. I didn't know a lot of people going in there, so it was really cool. And I'm fortunate enough to be invited. So
take us through how you found out. Who told you that you got the invite? How did that all come to be?
Yeah, I was on my way to practice, and I got a text from my agent that just said, give me a call when you have a chance. So I sort of called him back, and we sort of talked about it earlier in the year. I might get invited or I might not. So when I found out, it was really cool. I just sort of texted my parents and let them know, and then, yeah. Absolutely.
Pretty big year for you, a breakout year in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. Going Game 7 with Drake Batherson for the President Cup. A big experience for yourself this year. I'm sure there was a lot of it was a big learning experience. What were some of the specific takeaways from this season, moving on towards your next season in the NHL Draft?
Yeah, I think it was a really good year. Obviously, we didn't have the fin. I think learning from guys like Batherson and Barry Boulay and Alain, just sort of playing under them and seeing what they do on a day in day out sort of their process and stuff. I really tried to soak everything I could in, and then I'm hoping to hopefully use that stuff next year that they taught me, and just sort of go in there, and that's a pretty big loss, losing all three of those guys. So I think it's going to be a big hole to fill, but I'm excited for it.
Are you ready to kind of quote unquote take charge? I mean, there's a chance that it could be like Luke Henman could be like a very, very big part of this Blainville Armada squad moving down forward with guys like Batherson not being there. Are you kind of ready to take that challenge to be a big part of that core?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I talked to our new head coach, Bruce Richardson, there earlier in the week. So we just sort of met, and he just sort of gave me a little sort of background on him, and what kind of coach he is and stuff. But definitely, I think losing those guys, it's a lot of point production that you're not going to have anymore. So I think guys like myself, Teasdale, Katarnakis, we're really going to have to step up.
No, absolutely. You are a player playing in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League from the Maritimes. You're from Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia, it's no surprise, it's a hotbed for hockey. There's some amazing players, I don't even have to bring them up, that have come from the Maritimes. You look at specifically, Nova Scotia, you look at yourself, you look at Drake Batherson. Have you seen a change in the last couple of years in terms of like the amount of players that are being developed in Nova Scotia specifically, or has it been kind of just steady?
Yeah, I think Nova Scotia is producing a lot of great hockey players now, and I think it just sort of attests to how good of coaching and training and skills coach and skating coaches that we have here. It's sort of a smaller city or smaller province with most of the players coming out of the Halifax area, but I think I'm not really surprised. There's a lot of really great coaches, really great trainers, skills coaches, so I'm not surprised at all.
What were some things that you kind of wanted to work on? Two-part question. One, the year you had with Blaver Armada, I would say it was a very successful year for Luke Henman. But what were kind of some of the things that you did to work on to get to where you were with the Armada at the end of the season? And what were some of the things that you did at the Combine as well?
Yeah, I think obviously only being 150 pounds, it was sort of tough playing against 20-year-old guys that are 6'4", 200 plus pounds. So I think just trying to not lose any weight, try to gain some strength is definitely a key for me. And I think I get told a lot that I adapted to Hugh very well, but I think that at some point I gotta really start to put on some weight, get stronger, faster. So that's something that I've really tried to work on.
And we talked a little bit about your year with the Armada, but who is Luke Henman on the ice and who is Luke Henman off the ice?
Yeah, I think on the ice I'm sort of like a crafty, skilled player. I worked a lot of my defensive game this year. I think it really came a long way, and so I'm just sort of a crafty, skilled two-way forward. Good high hockey IQ, good passer. Off the ice, I'm sort of the same guy I am on the ice. I'm pretty easygoing, nice guy. Not caring guy. Like to hang out with my friends and stuff. So I think what you see is what you get.
No, absolutely. You mentioned getting bigger, faster, and stronger, but is there one thing that out of those that you kind of worked on? I guess you mentioned the weight kind of getting bigger. I think is that the one that you're kind of focusing on the most? Would you say, Luke?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can't play at the next level at my weight right now, and I think I got to 6 feet, so I'm pretty fortunate in that sense. But definitely just getting putting on weight, putting on muscle mass is something that I'm really focusing on right now.
Mm-hmm. And the NHL Draft, it's one of those things where you're in the Quebec Major Hockey League for most of the season, but you can't not think about it. It's going to be in the back of your head. But what have you kind of done to kind of block out the noise a little bit? Because social media especially, man, people are going to be saying a lot of stuff about you, scout reports and everything. What was Luke Henman doing to kind of block that out and stay dialed in with the Armada, making sure that the focus was there?
Yeah, sort of. When I came into the year, I didn't have a lot of expectations for I was kind of off. I wasn't on anyone's radar, but as the season went on and I built up some confidence and I started to play well, like you said, it's obviously in the back of your head, but I think just when you get into the playoffs and you get into the the Final Four and the finals, it's not that hard to block it out. All you're really focusing on is just winning and trying to help your team win. So,
for sure. Who are some of the players in the QMJHL this year that you got to? I might know the answer to some of these players, but maybe there's some. Maybe we don't have to get the Zadinas or the Bathersons or the Comtois, but were there some players that you played against or with this year that actually we can go one that you played against and one you played with that are not really on the radar as much, that you were like, wow, this player is very good, that you were kind of surprised about? Were there a few players in the queue?
Yeah, there's definitely some surprises. I think there's a lot of guys that sort of fit that that role. I think Samuel L'Italien from Bathurst, their centerman there, really impressed me in the finals. He played unbelievable, and he's going to be a big part of Baie-Comeau next year. I know they're going to have a really good team, so he really impressed me a lot. And on my team, I'd say Joel Teasdale. He went to the Combine last year. He got passed up at the draft, but his consistency in his game and what he brings to the table every night is just incredible. And I was lucky enough to play with him. So,
do you find it kind of is that kind of one of the hardest things about playing hockey in the Quebec Major Hockey League, being consistent? Because there's so many different teams you're going to play. There's so many harder players to play against. The atmospheres are going to be difficult as well. Is that the hardest thing, would you say?
Yeah, I'd say that's the hardest thing. I mean, it's a long season. It's a 68 game season, so there's going to be ups and downs. But yeah, I think it was tough to adapt to, definitely. But like I said earlier, I learned a lot from the older guys on my team and my coaches and stuff. So it got easier as the year went on.
No, absolutely. Couple more questions too. Have you been? I mean, I don't. I know some people kind of look at it because they use it as motivations, but I want to know: are you one of those players that kind of looks at the rankings or look at what people say about you on social media, or do you completely block that out? Because I surprisingly talk to some players. Some of them look from time to time because they want like that motivation. Do you kind of see yourself doing that at all?
Um, like I wouldn't say, obviously when there's rankings out, you look at them, you want to see, if people are noticing you, especially me being off the radar. I mean, it's kind of cool to be on those lists and stuff, but I think you can't look at it too much. I mean, there's so many different people with so many different opinions. Really the only opinion that really matters is the NHL team. So I think obviously, yeah, I take a look at stuff, but I don't. It doesn't mean that much to me.
Were there kind of some players, maybe even like Sidney Crosby? Obviously, like you growing up in Nova Scotia was obviously a player that was kind of really looked up to. Nathan McKinnon as well. Were there other players that maybe aren't as prolific names as them that you kind of like maybe modeled your game after growing up in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia?
Um, yeah, I mean, when when the Mooseheads won the Memorial Cup there in 2013, I was at every home game. So you know, I think watching Nathan McKinnon was really incredible, and I knew then that I wanted to play in the QMJHL, just seeing their lifestyle and stuff. So, but yeah, really just him. You know, you see, obviously Crosby and stuff too, but yeah, I think Nathan really, sort of stuck out.
For sure, for sure. And I think we'll wrap up. But first off, Luke, I just wanted to say thanks for coming on the show. And I know it's been pretty crazy, with Buffalo and Dallas for the draft. I mean, it's been a crazy couple of weeks. I'm sure. I guess the whole. I mean, going all the way down, going all the way to Game 7 too. Against Drake Batherson. What are kind of some of the next goals after kind of getting drafted to the after possibly getting drafted to the NHL for Luke Henman?
Yeah, I think it's sort of hard to think about that right now. I'm just, super excited to get down to Dallas and see what happens there. But, you obviously start to think about next year a little bit. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of holes to fill there. So I think just trying to be sort of a go-to guy there and be a consistent player is definitely a goal for me. I don't like to set sort of number goals per se, just because it's tough to gauge on the situation stuff. But just really looking forward to going down to Dallas and seeing what happens there.
And finally, a question I'm asking a lot of NHL 2018 draft prospects: why should an NHL team draft Luke Henman?
I just think I'm really passionate about the game. I come to the rink with a smile on my face every day. I love the game.
Perfect. Well, Luke, we wish you all the best. Thanks a lot for joining me on Popternative. And where can people follow you on social media, man?
Twitter, it's Luke Henman 16. Same with Instagram.
Awesome.
Luke Henman.
Seriously, have a great time in Dallas and just enjoy it, man.
Yeah, right on. Thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for the video episodes, iTunes, Spotify for the audio episodes. Until next time, this is Luke Henman and Peter Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.